Tonight's episode of Red Wine Girl Time was inspired by When You Were Everything, a young adult novel by Ashley Woodfolk.
Red, red wine, red, red wine. Only get better with time. Only get better with time. Red, red wine.
So what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Red Wine Girl Time. It's been a minute. There's been so much happening in the world. There is so much to talk about, but y'all know I like to give you something just a little bit different. So today I have a very special guest with me. This is my best friend, Kanae. We went to high school together, and I'm not going to tell my age, but you should know that that was a very long time ago.
It wasn't that long.
Okay, it was long ago. We're adults.
You're right.
We're no longer the teenage girls that sat on the bleachers at football games. We are adult women.
Yes.
And we have been navigating this adult women friendship space
Since after. So we went to high school together, but we didn't speak until after we graduated.
Nah, because we didn't like each other.
Yeah, no, we just didn't cross paths.
Right. I would say that Kanae and I became like we started talking, we was cool, we was hanging out, we have like a couple of jokes from before like we got solid, but I would say that she showed me friendship in a time that I desperately needed sisterhood, and that's really like how we grew, but it wasn't always pretty. Was there ever a time that you thought like we wasn't gonna be back friends?
No, not really. Just because I feel like there was no, although we stopped speaking twice.
Yeah, so we broke up twice.
Yes, we broke up twice, but there was never like hate. I feel like the first time we sort of just like sizzled out, and then the second time it was just like, let's just step back for a second.
Yeah.
But there was never any like animosity or...
There wasn't any animosity, but I would say the second time, if you asked me, like, I really did not think we was going to be friends again.
Because you was being petty.
I was being petty. I wasn't being, no, wait, I take that back. I wasn't being petty. I was just very emotional, and I just felt like I wasn't understood, and I think that that's one of those things that like separates me from people, because I always feel like you were one of those people in my life that I didn't have to explain myself to.
Mm-hmm.
So then when it got to a point where I was like explaining, where I felt like I was explaining myself a lot or trying to be less of like me and my like to my like emotional core, it made it like difficult, because it's just like, this is supposed to be one of the people in this world that like knows me the most.
Mm-hmm. I had faith because you felt like you weren't being understood, and I was just at a point where it's like, I'm not ready to, like, we'll have this healing conversation later on in life. I knew it was always gonna happen. I just felt like right then and there wasn't the time.
Yeah.
Like, we both needed to grow as individuals in order for us to come back together. And that's why I say there was no like hate or like nothing like that. Like, I knew like it's no reason for us to not, at least at the very least, be cordial.
Right.
There's no reason.
But see, okay, so maybe this is also my problem, because for me, like, when I really, really love somebody, I just don't understand being just cordial. Like, for me, it's just like, no. Like, we had a whole world together, and now I'm just supposed to be like, what's up? And keep it pushing at a party? Like,
no, not even. For me, it was like we can have our differences. Like, if we were to see each other, it's not like we don't have to be awkward or like weird. Like, we can still, we can still exist without being fake.
Right.
Just because we have our differences.
Yeah.
So during our breakup, what did you learn about yourself, and what did you learn about me? During our breakups.
Did we ever talk about why we broke up?
No.
Okay.
Right.
So we probably have two completely different versions of that breakup. So for me, how I processed it was that, one, I learned that I really do attach myself to people that I love. And I had different examples of that, but I think that with you, it showed me that on like a very, very like magnified kind of version, because because we became friends when I was going through a lot. And so while everybody else in my life had seen the glitz and the glamour and the pretty.
I knew you were gonna say glitz and glam. I swear I said it in my head. I swear.
Right. So while everyone else was exposed like the glitz and the glamour and the pretty of being my friend, you saw me at like my most vulnerable stage in friendship, and continued throughout our years. Like, you've seen me at like a super, super, super vulnerable state. And so then I learned that like I attach myself to people. So for me, where I started like really falling back was that like all of a sudden I felt like you weren't as available to me as you once were. And between like you having gotten a new boyfriend and me always feeling like I'm not the fun friend, it kind of boiled down to like, you know, now she's spending all this time with all these other people and you are my only friend. And the reason why I felt like you were my only friend is like, okay, like obviously everybody always hears about Carissa. Carissa's like my friend from like,
that's bang.
Like that's my like we were babies. Like that's my baby. But Carissa and I's friendship is much different than me and Kanae's friendship. Because like I said, Kanae and I started spending a lot of time together, and so she actually saw firsthand the ins and outs of everything that I was going through. Like, I lived with her for a short period of time. Things were just like so like crazy in my world. And so you show this person the most vulnerable pieces of you, and because they're a woman, they relate to you on a much different level. So like our closeness started to transform like the way that I viewed bonds with the men in my life. Like, I have male best friends, and it was just so different to share these things with a woman because she processed them. You process my feelings the same way that I process my feelings. So I say that to say, what I learned about me was that like I was really, really codependent. I had also started going to therapy around that time, and I was very, very codependent. And I can, like, in hindsight, I can see that I didn't give you breathing room, or when you took your breathing room, I processed it a lot differently than you would have. Because for you, it's just like, I'm just living my life. I'm not doing anything against you. But for me, it was, you're choosing not to spend time with me.
Yeah.
And then what I learned about you was that we had spent so much time focused on me that I might not have known you as well as I thought that I did, because that was when I started to like see that, oh, like she's this really independent, free spirit. And like I would identify myself as that as well, but in our relationship, that wasn't the case. Like, I'm the dependent one on the friendship. So like those were the things that I learned. And so then when we came back to being friends, I started to see you more for who you were, but it also made me feel like, damn, like this is my best friend and I don't really know her. So what about you? What do you think you learned in like the breakups?
So for the first one, I'm going to say nothing.
Because she was fine.
Because on my end, I didn't think there was like issues.
Right.
To me, it was just like, it just like, it sizzled out. And there was nothing wrong with that. Like you saying I was choosing to hang with other people. Like, I've always had like a group of friends. I don't have, my wedding is gonna be lit. I'm gonna have about 10, 15 bridesmaids. Like, I have a lot of women that I'm close with. So us hanging out as much as we were, that was like the honeymoon stage of the relationship, where I had this new friend where, you know, she's
I never would have thought about it like that.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, it's a new experience. So whether it was just going out for drinks or just sitting on the bench in the park, it was a new experience with a new person. And after a while, like, my other friends are like, you know, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. And I'm like, okay, well, I have been hanging out with Saika all the time. Let me just take a step back and entertain the other people in my life. So it wasn't anything like me, like, I didn't mean to not chill with you and stuff like that. But like, I have other friends and stuff like that. So the first time, nothing, because I didn't know that was the thing. But the second time, because we had a specific conversation before the friendship ended, I learned that you're not afraid to express how you feel.
It took you that long to figure it out?
I'm stubborn, and so are you.
Yeah.
But I've also learned that I was insensitive to people's feelings, even if, because my whole thing was right now, like the conversation that we had was at like 7 in the morning, and I'm just like, sis, I just opened my eyes, like, not right now. And that was just when you needed to
Express myself.
Yeah. And if I would have just been open to at least letting you express yourself and then say, hey, maybe we can entertain this conversation later on, I'll give you feedback later, but at least give you that space, then maybe we wouldn't have had to not speak for as long as we did.
Because I felt super dismissed, and like that was like my tipping point.
But at that same time, I think I had an argument with somebody like the night before. So I went to sleep angry, and I wake up, and that's my first text message. I'm like, nah, I can't, and I won't.
Yeah.
But it was never like a malicious kind of thing. It was just like, I'm just not in this headspace. And also I knew that I wasn't going to receive you the way that you would have wanted to be received.
Yeah. And not for nothing, cause like to me, she definitely broke up with me in that text message. and I remember I was driving, processing this. It was Atlanta traffic, so I wasn't like dangerously texting and driving. Don't text and drive. But I remember feeling like so dismissed, and then I didn't know, because I would say that what I also learned about myself is that like I need to start thinking about what results I want before I jump out of my emotions, I would say. Because like I'm all about being in my feelings. I'm all about expressing myself. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know what the next best result is, if you don't know what outcome you want from the situation, besides I just need to express myself, like I was gonna say like that works at work, but honestly, like what I learned is that you need to figure out what results you want before you have an emotional outburst. You're entitled to them. Mm-hmm. You're entitled to express your feelings. So when you were just like, you know what, I think we peaked, and
no,
this
because
was nice.
You know what it was? So now first of all, you know my memory is horrible, so it's all coming back to me. But it was also, we had kept having these like, I feel like the situations were small, but we kept having these like drawn out, like not arguments, but discussions, and I want to say
nice arguments,
2 to 3 months, and I'm just like, this is not what we are. This is not what I want in a friendship. So in me saying like, I think we should just like, we've hit the peak, let's just, you know, take a step back. It wasn't a like, alright, thank you, bye. But it was like a
but that's how I took it. That's how I took it. So I was just like, not what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. Actually, don't know what I was expecting. So I probably should have waited. But this is fine.
It wasn't a like, I hate you, I just don't ever see why are we speaking, go away, block me. It wasn't like that. It was just I'm just tired of these. I feel like, honestly speaking, you're validated in your feelings, but the situations themselves, like if we were both to handle them how we would now, none of that would have happened.
Right, of course.
Like none of it would have happened.
Yeah.
But I think that everything happens for a reason. So that second break was for us to grow as individuals, which we have a lot. Yeah. And for us to come back now. And I think we've let go of the expectations and stuff like that. And all good expectations. Yeah. Not, I'm not ready to debate about that. Like, no. But just, I think we held each other to certain standards and got upset when the other person didn't reach those standards. But it's like, we never asked to be held on a pedestal, you know?
I feel like she's talking about me, but it's fine.
No! I'm leaving.
Okay, so in our breakups, we had 2 breakups. Who took the first step?
The first time, I honestly don't remember.
It was me. I took the first step the first time.
How? What was your step?
I know my step.
What was it?
So I have moved to Atlanta, and before like the week that I came back to celebrate my birthday, your mom took me out to eat to say goodbye. And of course she brought up the fact that, like, you know, we weren't speaking, we hadn't been speaking.
You left the weekend of your birthday.
Yeah, I left the weekend of my birthday. Yeah. But when I got to Atlanta, after like 3 months, I think, of me being there, I had texted you. I'm pretty sure it was one of my like drunk nights. And I drunk text you just to say that, like, you know, like, I think about, I think about my conversation with your mom a lot. And then I was also just like, you know, like, it's hard being like here without people that I love, but then it's even harder to feel like I'm doing these things for myself, and like I don't have this person who always cheering me on. That was like the gist of it, I felt.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. I give you that.
Thanks. The second time it was you though.
Was it?
Yeah, you took the first step because you called me because you went out to lunch with a mutual friend that we have. And you called me to just be like, you know, like, basically like, I'm pretty sure you're still feeling the way. I just want you to know it's no beef.
You know what's funny? I was drunk. I was drunk.
This is a relationship.
You
can only dial the X when you're drunk.
No, I remember that. But also it wasn't, that wasn't to start back up. Because we still went some time after that without speaking. But
that was a first step for me because up until that point, like, I really felt like, even at that conversation, I just felt like, no, absolutely not. But then there were so many things revolving that like one moment, because we had like someone in the middle of it where I just felt so blindsided and I was so mad. And I wasn't mad because you reached out. I'm mad because I wasn't expecting it. And so in that moment where I could have taken the opportunity, like literally the next day I processed this. I'm like, in that moment where I could have taken the opportunity to get my friend back that I've been complaining and crying about having lost, I'm so mad that I wasn't expecting this, that I didn't get to prepare for this, that I was like a complete jerk basically on the phone. Like, it was just like, well.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what you heard, but nah, like, I'm good. Like, nobody's checking for you.
And I was like, okay, I love you. And he was like, thank you, I love you. Like, wow.
That was awkward for me to say that because I was just like, I don't want to love you. And the text messages after like that initial hit up, they were like kind of slow, you know, like we're both kind of just treading the waters, really trying to see how the other person feels, a little bit awkward, but also just want you to know, like, you know, if you're available, I'm available. If you're not available, I'm not too available, so it's fine.
Awkward and extra, both of us. Awkward and extra.
But when we had brunch for the first time, when I came back. No, here.
Oh, yeah.
No, when I came back. So this was like the second breakup that we did. So we had brunch for the first time. And our toast was to meeting people where they're at. And I'm not gonna hold you, Kanae said that. And that has been like my mantra with people this entire 2020. It was like, yeah, to just meeting people where they're at. And so it's like we're coming into this with expectations because we know, like, I know the kind of woman she is and she knows the kind of woman that I am. So we come into it with expectations as that, but not with unrealistic expectations. We're like, you're choosing not to see the person for who they are. When do you know that it's time to break up with a friend? Like, besides us, like, have you had to like break up with a friend, and like, just when do you know? How do you make that step?
I think whenever it's no longer an exchange. If I am teaching you something, I'm learning by teaching you whatever. If it's just a me giving, I'm not here for that. And also, and that's not to say like if you don't put in what I put into this friendship, not to say that. If I'm giving you 1,000 but you only got 500, just put in your 500 if I'm putting in my 1,000, and we'll be okay, you know? But there has to be some type of exchange, and that exchange has to be fulfilling to me as a person. Because I don't care, you can pay for dinner 1,000,000 times, but what does that do for my growth as a woman? How is that making me a better person tomorrow?
Oh, I have an even better question to add on to that. So how do you oof, I hope this is worded properly. But how do you measure the value of your friendships?
What
The friendship that you give and the friendship that you receive.
For both, what do they contribute to my growth? At the end of every day, I'm just trying to be a better person tomorrow. I want to be, I don't have to be the best, I just want to be better than I was yesterday. And that can be the smallest conversation I have with somebody, or that can be a deep, you know, heart-to-heart conversation, or that can be just me, a friend that wants to hit me up, hey, let's go party all the time. Fine, that's me being carefree, I'm you know, being comfortable, things like that. But if it's just, I honestly ask myself at the end of every situation, how is this making me a better person? If I have no answer, guess what? I have no situation to entertain. Like, I'm honestly, I'm at a point in my life where I just need to be great, and my people that surrounding me, either you're helping me or you're holding me back.
Facts.
And I don't do people holding me back, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to add on to that because that's exactly how I feel. Like, I'm always saying that I love to pour into people, and I'm also a person who likes to be poured into. And I hate to feel that I'm giving, and I'm not on the receiving end of anything. And not for nothing, like, I've phrased it this way before, where as friends, we don't go tit for tat. We don't count who's doing what.
Right.
But there comes a point where, like, if someone's not giving anything, like, to you in return, you start to really, you start to notice, because now it's like one side of the scale is just really piling up of these things. So I'm a person that I'm like, I need to be poured into, and I need to pour into you. And I would say for me, like, like a breakup point for me where I realized, like, you know what, maybe this is not what we're saying it is, maybe this is not what we think it is, maybe this is exactly where it needs to be, and not go like much further, is when I feel like I'm starting to realize that you don't know me. And sometimes, like, people know us at different stages of our lives. And so, you know, like you say, like, you're constantly growing. I'm learning that you can't really fault people for the speed at which they grow. And so, like, you can wake up one day and discover that you're this totally new person, and you keep trying to explain this person or show this person to somebody that you really care about, that you love, that's been a part of your life for a very long time, but they're not getting it. And they're either genuinely not getting it, or they're choosing to not get it, but now you guys just don't relate to each other the same. And I think that, like, breakups don't always have to be a bad thing, which is something that I really, like, want people to understand. Like, breakups don't have to be this bad, negative, oh, F you, like, I'm out, it's the end of the world, like, how do I breathe without you? Those are lyrics, by the way, 90s baby. It doesn't have to be like this, like, insanely negative thing. Sometimes it's just like, yo, like, I love you, and I love where we at, and we can stay here.
You know what's my favorite? Like, this keeps me going through everything. Thank you for the experience. I have no complaints. Mood. That's it. That's it. I have no complaints. Because at the end of every situation, regardless of how it ended, there was a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah. And I think that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but correct me off camera, not on camera, because I feel that we are stronger and closer than we were before. Like, we had, like, a drunken girls night like last month. It was just me and her getting super lit. We were supposed to be doing Starstruck work, and then she made this drink that killed us. And it was your fault. Yes, it was her fault. She's bartender, mixer mommy.
I'm spamming the comments.
Wow. But it was so insane because I feel like saying and agreeing and believing that we were just gonna meet each other where we were allowed us to truly see each other
Yes.
for who we were right now, and
appreciating it,
and it made being friends like for real.
Yeah.
Not to say that we weren't friends for real before, but friends for real in this day and age as who we are now. It made it like so much easier.
If we would have been how we are now as individuals, then we would have never stopped speaking in the first place.
We had to grow.
Right, we had to. You're welcome.